Chapter 8. Cell, the Unit of Life, Part 1, a discovery of cell, cell theory, cell size, shape and number. Here's a simple question. If I ask you, what is the smallest living unit in the world? You'll probably answer immediately, cell. But do you know who discovered the cell? Did Robert Hooke actually see the first living cell? Since an elephant is so huge, are its cells bigger too? And there's one Latin sentence that is asked again and again in NEET exams. Omnis cellula is cellula. Today, we're not just going to memorize answers. We are going to understand the complete story. And I promise, after this chapter, you'll never find cells boring again. So, without wasting any time, let's begin. Introduction: what is a cell? First of all, let's answer a basic question. What is a cell? In simple words, cell is the structural and functional unit of life. That means every living organism, whether it's a bacterium, a plant, an animal, or the human body, everything is made up of cells. And not only that, every function of the body is also performed by cells. Imagine this. There's a city. That city has millions of houses. Every house has a different job. One belongs to a doctor, another to an engineer, another to a teacher. Together, they keep the city running. In exactly the same way, our body contains trillions of cells. Every cell has its own responsibility. Some carry oxygen. Some contract muscles. Some produce hormones. Together, they keep our body alive. That's why the cell is called the unit of life. Discovery of cell. Now the interesting story begins. Around 350 years ago, scientists didn't have powerful microscopes, so nobody knew what living organisms were actually made of. Then came Robert Hooke. The year was 1665. Hooke designed his own microscope. One day, he placed a very thin slice of cork taken from the bark of a tree under his microscope. And what he saw changed the history of biology forever. He observed many tiny box-like structures. They looked just like a honeycomb. These tiny compartments looked like small rooms. So he named them cells. The word cell comes from the Latin word cellula, which means small room. NET alert. Now here's a very important trap. Many students think Robert Hooke discovered the first living cell. That's completely wrong. What actually happened? The cork Hooke observed was dead tissue. He only saw empty cell walls. He did not see the nucleus. He did not see the cytoplasm. He did not see the living protoplasm. He only observed dead compartments. This is one of NET's favorite direct questions. If the exam asks, who discovered the living cell? The answer is not Robert Hooke. But if the question is, who coined the term cell? Then the answer is Robert Hooke. So then, here's a question. If Hooke only observed dead cells, how did scientists conclude that all living organisms are made of cells? That's where cell theory begins. Cell theory. Imagine this. 3 scientists are solving a puzzle. Each scientist contributes one important piece. And together, those 3 pieces form cell theory. Scientist number 1, Matthias Schleiden. The year was 1838. Schleiden was a botanist, which means he studied plants. He carefully observed many different plants, and he noticed something interesting. Whether it was a leaf, a stem, or a root, everything was made up of cells. His conclusion was all plants are made up of cells. Simple. Scientist number 2, Theodor Schwann. The following year, Theodor Schwann entered the picture. He was a zoologist, which means he studied animals. After observing animal tissues, he concluded animals are also made up of cells. He also explained that every cell is surrounded by a cell membrane. Then Schleiden's and Schwann's observations were combined, and together they concluded both plants and animals are made up of cells. That became the foundation of cell theory. But there was still one problem. there was still one unanswered question. Where do new cells come from? Do they appear from air? Do they form automatically? At that time, nobody knew the answer. Scientist number 3, Rudolf Virchow. Then came Rudolf Virchow. The year was 1855. Virchow gave a historic statement. Omnis cellula is cellula. This Latin sentence means every cell arises from a pre-existing cell. In other words, every new cell comes from an already existing cell. Cells divide and produce new cells. This statement completed cell theory. And this sentence is one of NEET's evergreen favorites. Final cell theory. Now let's remember cell theory in the simplest way possible. Point number 1. All living organisms are made up of cells and cell products. Point number 2. Every new cell comes from a pre-existing cell. That's it. This is the complete cell theory. Memory trick. Finding it difficult to remember? Just remember this simple sequence. Schleiden, plants. Schwann, animals. Virchow, cell division. That's all. Plants. Animals. Division. You'll never forget the order again. Cell size. Now here's an interesting question. Are an elephant's cells bigger than a rat's cells? The answer is no. This is one of the most common misconceptions. The size of the body does not depend on the size of the cells. Instead, body size depends on the number of cells. An elephant simply has more cells, not bigger cells. Smallest cell. The smallest known cell is Mycoplasma. Its approximate size is 0.3 micrometer. Largest cell. Now what is the largest single cell in the world? Surprisingly, not a human cell. It's the egg of an ostrich. Yes, the egg you see is actually a single cell. This fact surprises almost every student. Human RBC. The diameter of a human red blood cell is approximately 7 micrometers. Now think about this. Do all cells look the same? Absolutely not. The shape of a cell depends on its function. Some cells are round. Some are cube-shaped. Some are thread-like. Some are column-shaped. And some are completely irregular. A perfect example is amoeba. An amoeba continuously changes its shape because it needs to move and capture food. In simple words, function decides shape. Now the last concept. Do all organisms contain the same number of cells? No. Some organisms are made up of just a single cell. These are called unicellular organisms. Examples include bacteria, protozoa, and some algae. On the other hand, humans, plants, and animals contain trillions of cells. These are called multicellular organisms. Let's revise everything in just 60 seconds. Cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Robert Hooke observed dead cork cells in 1665 and coined the term cell. Robert Hooke did not discover the living cell. Schleiden, plants are made of cells. Schwann, animals are made of cells. Virchow, Omnis cellula is cellula. Every cell arises from a pre-existing cell. Two main points of cell theory. All living organisms are made up of cells and cell products. Every new cell comes from a pre-existing cell. Smallest known cell Mycoplasma, 0.3 m. Largest single cell ostrich egg. Human RBC approximately 7 m. Cell size is not related to body size. Cell shape depends upon its function. Organisms can be unicellular, multicellular. So far, we've understood what a cell is and how it was discovered. But now the real journey begins. In the next part, we'll explore a fascinating type of cell that doesn't even have a true nucleus. Yet it is one of the most successful life forms on Earth. We'll understand the prokaryotic cell, its structure, cell envelope, capsule, mesosome, flagella, pili, fimbriae, 70S ribosome, and many more NEET favorite concepts in detail. So, I'll see you in part 2.